Morning, everyone. Good morning. We'll be reading this morning from the book of Romans, chapter 12. If you are going to be using one of the church Bibles in the back seat in front of you, it's on page 1123, 1123. Romans, chapter 12, beginning of reading in verse 1. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what is God, or what God's will is good, pleasing, and perfect will. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the measure of faith God has given you. Just as each one of us has one body, with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we who are many form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. All right. We have different gifts according to the grace given us. If a man's gift is prophesying, let him use it in proportion to his faith. If it is serving, let him serve. If it is teaching, let him teach. If it is encouraging, let him encourage. If it is contributing to the needs of others, let him give generously. If it is leadership, let him govern diligently. And if it is showing mercy, let him do it cheerfully. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil and cling to that which is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need, and practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. Amen. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. Amen. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Amen. This is God's word for us today. Amen.
Isn't it wonderful to hear the word read? Amen. I'm so thankful, brother, for reading that for us. And just it's powerful just to hear God's word in context. They can be copied into pieces, and that's okay. But I was reading through this chapter, preparing. He said, no, we need to read the whole chapter. We need to hear that whole chapter. It's just the instruction just kind of hits you. It's like volley after volley, boom, boom, boom. Just one thing after another. With love, not in the bad way, but you're hit by this truth, this spiritual truth that just kind of bam, 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 and it's convicting. And you even hear things that he repeats. You know, you get to things like, you know, don't take revenge. And you know that the prophet can repeat it again. Don't pay people back. You know, we have to hear some things twice to really get our attention. And this is a very powerful passage. It came from a discussion. I asked some of my children a question. Some of the things that you've heard come from family discussions. I said, you know, if you hear a message about anything, what would you hear? It's a dangerous question for a preacher to ask anybody, especially your own family. And we talk about knowing the will of God. Now, in talking about God's will, many times, and I believe most times, we approach knowing God's will kind of like approaching a psychic. You may say, what do I mean by that? We want to know the future. You know, Lord, what's your will for me tomorrow? You know, and we treat God as if, you know, he's a cosmic horoscope genie that we seek, trying to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow, which is not godly and it's not biblical. So the question is, if that's the case, then how do we look at God's will? How do we approach it? And this Romans passage really unpacks it with some foundational issues that help us get to the point that we understand God's will in a very comprehensive way. Because ultimately, God's will is not about what I want. Because generally I think about, you know, okay, Lord, what's your will for me today? Which really means, Lord, what do I want to do and how can you help me get there? And that's not why we're put on this planet. Remember, we're put on a planet that is under siege. There's a cosmic war going on. You know, the version we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but we're in spiritual battles, we talk about those things. We're really in spiritual battles. Amen. I mean, this morning we got a call from the Philippines, and Lulu's brother, Ramon, is working with a very particular people group that God is penetrating. He was in a motorcycle accident. Somebody did a hit and run, broke his leg. You know how many accidents that he's been in trying to reach this people group? I mean, he should be dead already. I mean, so praise God that God's protecting him, but we have an enemy who doesn't want him to reach these people. Mm-hmm. It's a real war, and in this cosmic picture of things, we know that God's will is for these people to know Christ. For these people to be saved, and that our purpose is that people will be rescued from their sinful state, from the oppression that they're suffering under this captivity of an enemy who hates us. So we're in this big cosmic thing that goes back to the garden. And all the other things that we experience are really deflections from that main battle. Because we tend to think very temporally, very here and now, very right now, when eternity's at stake, and even the things that we are doing in the temporal have eternal impact. So as we look at God's will, we have to look at this big picture story and look at what the Apostle Paul is saying. Because decisions are really a part of life. We make decisions, but our decisions that we make as Christians have a greater impact than we think. There are all kinds of possibilities, right? It's like we're standing in the middle of not just a crossroads, but a multiplex, right? You can go in all these different directions through life. How do we live life? How do we know the will of God? How do we understand it? Well, we unpack that Romans passage in chapter 12, verse 1. I'm going to read that here again, the first couple of verses. The foundation that we lay is critical. And we begin, first of all, with a proper orientation. What does that mean? Well, chapter 12, verse 1 tells us this. It says, therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Let's start right there. A living sacrifice. When you think about a sacrifice, what do you think of? Death, correct? In the Old Testament, you have these animals, and you put the animal on an altar, and the animal is slain on that altar. And blood is shed, and symbolically sins are covered. But then he says, present your bodies as a what kind of sacrifice? Living sacrifice. He says, holy and acceptable. Well, he said, setting yourself apart for God's purpose. The word holy means set apart. It's not special, it's not magical, it's something that's dedicated for God. So if this is holy to the Lord, it means that it will only be used for God's purposes. It's not that it's magic, it's that it has a special designated purpose. You may have items in your house that you only use for special occasions, right? Now, we have a picnic, we use paper plates, paper spoons and forks, right, or plastic spoons and forks, right, with disposable ware. But when you have kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies go on the fancy eating table, you know, You bring out the pot parents and the meat stabbers and all the important stuff that makes the meal nice. You know, silver and china, something like that, or your best plates. They're set apart for special use. And he's saying that we as God's people are set apart for special use. And that our lives are devoted to doing things that matter for God. So it's not that things are intrinsically bad, but it's that God's made us for great purposes. For purposes to honor Him, to please Him, and to show people the way to Jesus Christ. And He is the way Himself. So we're set apart for God's use. This church is God's church. It's set apart for God's use. And He intends us to reach people for Him. For lives to be changed, people are introduced to Him. In one sense, there's nothing special about this building, is there? In and of itself, right? It's made of wood and construction. We are flesh and blood in terms of that. And human, we're just humans. You know, I'm a person, you're people, we're just people. This is just a building. But God has set us apart for His purposes, which gives us special living. So we are holy, and we're to be a living sacrifice continually set apart for His use. So we're saying that our whole lives are a special time of communion with God. Our whole lives are particularly to be molded for His purposes. So that means I don't do things casually. We don't do things casually. That's where we look at how decisions are made later on in life, or at any point of life. So that means when I was single, if I understand I'm set apart for God's purposes, I couldn't just marry anybody. Now suppose what my life would be like if I married somebody who wasn't devoted to serve God. Do you think this church would be different? If I became this church, probably wouldn't exist, would it? Because my life would be preoccupied with somebody with a lot of drama, right? A lot of distractions, because I know the Lord and they don't. And we're going to be kind of going round and round, fighting and fussing, dealing with our stuff rather than dealing with God's stuff. Because I didn't remember that as a believer, I'm set apart for a purpose. So the person I married better be set apart for a purpose too, or we're going to have, again, very interesting lives, but the Chinese say it's a curse. We live an interesting life in interesting times, you know. And I don't want an interesting life that way. I want an interesting life God's way. And so that means that my understanding, being a living sacrifice, is going to affect some choices that come down the road later. And my surrendering to God's will. So I'm set apart for God's purpose, and I can be willing to obey Him sacrificially. If it's going to feel like it's a sacrifice. Before I met Luz, there were people that I said no to that said, man, well, she's so pretty, she's so this and that. It seemed painful, like I was making some kind of sacrifice. It seemed at the time that I was letting go of something. I was something less than God had for me. Because even though that looked good, it wasn't as good as the person God had for me. Now, this is one area or example, but if we understand that we're set apart for God's use, it's going to affect many decisions down the road. So I'm set apart for God's purpose, and I'm prepared to obey Him even if it hurts. Are you prepared to obey God if it hurts? Amen. Sometimes it's hard to obey God. I won't lie and say, you know, if you obey God, it's going to always feel good. It's always going to be nice and fuzzy. You're going to have warm feel. There are times that you do what God said, you say, Lord, I'm going to take a hit. It's like football. You know, you're going to catch a pass, and there's a big, big lineman waiting for you. You say, if I catch this pass, what's going to happen? Bam! You're going to get hit. You know, and you're laying down and saying, oh, man, you know, I got hit. But you made the yardage because you obeyed the play that was laid out. God has laid out this play for us, and if we take a hit, we say, Lord, I'm kind of flinching, but I'm going to obey Him because I know that's going to advance the kingdom plan that I'm part of. Amen. Something that's beyond me, so I'm prepared to obey sacrifice, which means I'm not going to follow the crowd. Do not be conformed to this world. Actually, it's really strong in the Greek. Stop being conformed to the world. It assumes that there are worldly influences that kind of pull us over. Right? So it means that, man, if somebody's trying to pull me in, I have to say, Lord, I know my calling. I'm not going to pull into that. I can't be conformed to that. And not some holy Joe way, not some fake way. I'm not saying, not making a big production, but just making choices up front. You see, no, I know there's things I'm not going to do because that would knock me off of the purpose God has for me. So I'm not going to hang out in certain places because that's going to knock me off of God's plan. I'm not going to do certain things. That's just not part of God's plan. I only make a production of it, but I understand that the Bible says what? Broad is the way that leads to destruction, and what? Many are those who find it. It says, but narrow is the gate that leads to life, and few are those who find it. So it's like they said, the rock and roll theology, there's a stairway to heaven and a highway to hell, right? You know? It tells you about traffic flow expectations, you know? So, but it's a narrow path that's going to attract less folks. So sometimes you see, man, everybody's going that way. Maybe I ought to think about that before I take a step in that direction. But it says, stop being conformed to the pattern of this world. That means that we don't let the world decide what we think. We don't let the world say, well, this is right. We say, Lord, what does your word say? And it's going to be increasingly unpopular. And again, I'm not talking about being political or productive, but if you have certain convictions, they're just not popular. Remember, being a kid, being a teenager, as a Christian teenager, they were just thinking you didn't do them. You knew you were going to get in the fight, or there's going to be tension. Even as a soldier, hey, we're going to do this. Say, no, man, I'm just going to hang out and do this. I'm going to go to the gym. So, man, you don't want to. No. And you get somebody say, why not? You think you're holding me? No, I just don't want to do that. And you end up getting these confrontations because you're not being what? Conformed to the pattern of the world. Again, I wasn't trying to pick a fight. I just said, I'm not going. Right? I just made a statement. I ain't going there. And there's just no drama. So I don't feel like I'm going to go to the gym. But that became a major thing when spiritual issues are in play. Because someone wants to say, why not? And they know why not. They already knew when they asked me the question. And the question, what I ended up saying? Because I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a Christian. Oh, say you do think you're right. And then there you go, Man, you just got to eat that, I mean, that's just what it is. But we're not to be conformed to the pattern of this world. And some of that isn't even stuff like that. It's just being wasting our time. Being unpurposed with our lives. Life is very short. And I'm amazed at how fast 50-something has come. When I was 20-something, 50-something seemed way off. Now it just came last night. I was 20-something, now it's 50-something. Like, what happened? That was really fast. I'm thinking, man, if I could be 70, woo, it's coming quick, I got health issues, look at me quick. I mean, so you start thinking, man, Lord, I'm going to live in this flesh forever. And so I don't have time to waste. I don't have the luxury of saying, I'll do this tomorrow, or I'll put this off later, or I'll consider obeying God next week, because next week, what? Might not come. I have to say, my mom, when she died at just 2 years older than I am now. So we inherit genes. Man, that's bad. Then my dad died at 76. So even if you average those, it's not a whole lot of time, is it? So I'm thinking, we don't have time to play with my point. We don't have time to be conformed to this other pattern. We don't have time to look at this other compass. We don't have time to be distracted from God's mission. You don't have time. You don't know how much time you have. So today is a gift. It's a luxury. We say, Lord, thank you for this gift. And it's precious. So we don't want to waste our time. We don't follow the crowd. But rather be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be transformed. A transformed mind leads to clarity regarding the will of God. It assumes that our minds are not transformed to begin with. That when we don't know Christ, we think in a different way. And even when we're younger in our faith, our thinking still can continue to go transformation. I remember reading letters I wrote to my mom as a younger Christian, and I kind of cringed with some of the stuff I thought was right or cool, and it was just stupid. You're like, man, that was really dumb. And I said, Mom had to read this, and she was praying for me 24/7, and boy, help this boy, Lord. He needs help. Transform his mind because he's messed up. And I was a Christian young man, but I was young. And my mind continues to need what? Transformation. Even now, my mind needs continual transformation. Because if I stop saying, Lord, continue to change me, if I become arrogant and say I've arrived, what's going to happen? I'm going to start drifting. And before you know it, I'm doing something totally off base, totally crazy. You're saying, what happened to Sam? He's gone crazy. Why? Because I'm not letting the Holy Spirit continue to transform my thinking. It's like, you have to kind of, your car has to be calibrated every now and then, right? We need recalibration, our mind to be recalibrated over and over and over again because we drift. We have this natural tendency to drift. We have to put a reset button and say, Lord, help me get back on track and be it. So when we understand with our mind, it'll give clarity to understand what God's will is. Because our thinking, as the Lord wants me to think, I'm going to do what the Lord wants me to do. So that transformation of the mind is critical in having a clear picture of what God wants. And so he talks about some things when he does that. And he says, after saying all those things, he says, by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you are. So it starts with clarity of an accurate view of yourself. Now you see this picture, you got this kitty cat that's looking in the mirror, what does it see? A lion, right? Now that could be good and it might not be good. But there are times we have an inflated view of ourselves. We think we're more than we are. We think we're all that. And he's saying here that understanding God's will for your life is also understanding who He's made you to be and who you are. Having an accurate self-picture. And I'm not saying worm theology where we say, woe is me, and we're sinners, we're saved by grace, we understand that. But we also reflect the beautiful image of God. We're created in His image. We reflect that image. So, on the one hand, we're fallen and we have issues. On the other hand, we're beautiful and we're created in God's image. I mean, He values enough to send His Son, right? God so loved the world. So, does He see value in humans? Yes. Value enough that He loves us enough to send His Son to die for us. So, we have great value and beauty, but we have issues. So, we say, Lord, give me an accurate picture of myself. Understand what my strengths are. But understand what my weaknesses are. And understand that when it comes to intrinsic value, just in being a human being, I'm equal to every human being on the earth. No better, no worse. Is that true? There's a saying that the ground is level at the foot of the cross. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That means that the highest potentate in the world needs Christ. And the lowest person that's struggling the most needs Christ. And everybody in between needs Christ. But we're level at the cross. So he says having an accurate self-picture of who you are is important. So he says if you want to know God's will, first of all, understand who you are. That means that if I know what my gifts and abilities are, I know right away I'm not going to have a mechanical ministry. Or I'm going to die, my family's going to starve, and people are going to be hurt. Right? If I do it, because I'm not mechanically inclined necessarily. I can do some simple things, but I can't, people who fix engines and do incredible things in factories, I don't have that skill. But if I can do anything I want, and that, if I understand it, because it's not true you can do anything you want. You can do what you've been called to do and designed to do. And what God wants you to get, anything, that's not necessarily true. That's actually, it sounds good, it's a motivational speech. You can do what God intends you to do, what He's designed you to do. That you can absolutely do. But I can't just say, because I want to, by force of my will, that necessarily I can do what I want. So I have to know, Lord, let me understand who you've made me to be. Understand how you've made me and even where my heart is. We do have heart passions that God's given us, the things that He's put in us that give us joy to do and to work. And you can find a place in His body to do that. I mean, our church is thriving in many ways because people are free to do what God's called them to do. And that's what we want to say, Lord, how can we free people up to do what God's called them to do? If you have a book ministry like Katie, then praise God for that. If you have a hospitality ministry like we're blessed with, praise God for that. If you're a ministry of just walking alongside people and patting them on the back, praise God for that. And then there are many, there are gifts, there are more gifts than I can name in this body, and we need every last single one of them. And you say, boy, I've been itching to do this, and then let's talk about that and get you doing it. The last thing we want is that you're sitting around not doing what God has designed you to do. Because He's put that in your heart. He's given you the tools to do that. But you have to understand who He's made you and have that. Proper view of self-view is not more highly than one should, but with sobriety. And then we have to view ourselves through the eyes of faith. He says, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. Some of these many members that he talks about, we have to view who God has made us in the light of our walk with Jesus Christ. It's not just a blank slate in terms of anything you want, but as someone who knows Jesus, how does that affect what I do and who I am? Someone who knows Jesus, how do I talk to my neighbors? Someone who knows Jesus, how do I behave at work? And when I mean by that, I mean you should work hard. The Bible says, right? Colossians 3, whatever you do with all your might unto the Lord, not the people. So that means if I know Christ, I'm going to be the hardest worker I can be for the kingdom of God. So it's more important that you work hard at work than you read your Bible at work. What? When you work for your boss, what are you being paid to do? Work, right? Now you may have a boss that you can study the Bible now, but you're not being paid unless you're a pastor or something to read the Bible. We all need to read the Bible at different times. But if you work in a certain place, the boss is calling you to do what? To do work. So that means doing God's will is working hard. Don't say, well, boss, I would, but I read my Bible. Well, he said, Lord bless you, you're fired. So you and God can pray and have a good time now and what you want. Because now you're free. But that means understanding, what God's placed you to do and who you are, means that when you get to those places, work with all your might, because that's a testimony. Amen. You want someone to say, man, those Christians you hired, they work like they're insane. You got to tell them to stop working. I mean, they won't stop. They go, they give all their, they act like this is their company. They take it with a passion. Because that's a witness for Jesus Christ. And then you're lunch break, you want to do that? That's fine. Let's do what you want. But when you're on the clock, honor that. Because the boss has called you to do what you're supposed to do on the clock. So again, but it's having that proper view of self, understanding what the will of God is, what's acceptable, good, and perfect. Through the eyes of faith. So when I look at my job as a witness of Jesus Christ, that what I do with all my might for the Lord, because, Lord, your reputation is on the line. And I don't want people saying those Christians are lazy and they'll deflect all the time. They're always reading the Bible and dispute them to do what we call them to do or pay them to do. It's meant that this is a good worker, someone who has a heart for what they do. And man, I see their religion and how hard they work for me. It's a witness. We do that. So we view our gifts in light of the community of faith and the mission of the church as well. Lord, how does this affect my brothers and sisters? I don't want you to be affected by something I say as a pastor. When I Facebook and I try to be godly and positive and upbeat. Why? Because if I say something crazy, they'll say, man, you got that crazy pastor. He's not. And Wesley, you must be a nut and crazy too, right? So I have to say, Lord, let me tweet and post in a way that reflects well on this church and the people who attend it. So that people won't say, y'all are all crazy and there's no way I'm ever coming to that church. Because that happens, doesn't it? I'm not going to say, if somebody says something crazy, and I can say, man, that guy's crazy, and I'm a preacher myself. But we're affected by that, and the church is affected by that. And so we say, we have to view our gifts in light of the mission of the church. So I know, well, what I do reflects everybody else too. And I look at what I do. If I go on vacation, it's not like what goes to Vegas stays in Vegas. Like I say, somebody's probably got a camera in Vegas. You know what I mean? I still got to walk with Jesus in Vegas, even when I'm there. So whatever we do unto the Lord, it reflects on all of us. And then do your gifts with a heart of generosity and a spirit of cheerfulness. It says, if you give generously, lead, do it diligently, show mercy, do it cheerfully. We should be filled with joy. Have you ever met a Christian who doesn't have joy and you wonder what was wrong? I mean, it was just, they were always either mad or just, they were never ever like, boy, God's just with me. And I've got peace, but you never felt they had peace or joy. I mean, everybody has problems. I believe one of the reasons the Lord lets us have problems as Christians is to show his power. To show that the issue isn't that we don't have problems and challenges. The issue is we have him. To fight our battle. We looked at Hezekiah a few weeks back and he said, with him as the arm of flesh, well, it's the Lord to fight our battles and to help us. We have the Lord to fight our battles. And the Lord to help us. So we're going to have times when finances are tight. We're going to have times when we're physically not well. We're going to have times when we have relationship issues. We're going to have times when all kinds of things happen to us. We will not be spared from the troubles of life. But do you have God's joy in that? Do you have God's peace in that? Because we're not to live by our circumstances. Joy doesn't mean that things are going my way, though I want to go my way. I mean, I prefer to have a sunny day like today, great weather, plenty of food, and that's okay to want that. And when you have that, should we enjoy it? Yes. So I'm saying, when God's good in that way, say praise God and enjoy it with both hands. But when things are tight, you're not feeling good, somebody's on your back, things are tense, still say, Lord, give me your joy. The joy of the Lord, the scripture says, is my strength. And joy is that abiding peace that somehow, even though things are messed up, God is in control. Things are out of whack. God has my life in his hands, and things are in order. That's why Job was able to say, even if he kills me, I'll trust him. So that's serious peace, isn't it? And we know Job's story. He lost everything. He says, if he kills me, I will trust him. Now I can tell you, that's not thinking like the world. That's a transformed mind. Because the world says, if you kill me, I will talk about you and I will deny you. The two things we talked about, right? If you're the Messiah, do what? Save yourself and save us. Fleshly eyes. And Jesus is saying, because of the Messiah, I'm going to save myself and you by staying up here. And the other thief says, that's right, and can I have part of your kingdom when you come? He says, this day we live in paradise. Two people. One looking with the eyes of flesh, conformed to the world, saying, I need you to get me and you off this cross. One with spiritual eyes and a transformed mind says, I need you to stay up here and take me to glory when you go. Very different, isn't it? You might slay me, but I'm going to trust you in eternity with you. That's the God we serve. That's what he's called us to do. So when we talk about knowing God's will, it is not an invitation to have God be our lucky charm to give us the good things we want. It's not saying, Lord, give me all the money I want. Though I pray that we all have financial blessing. And that's the Lord, make me well. Though I've got issues, you have issues. And Lord, I do want to be healed. I want you to heal others too. He may choose to do that. Praise God when he does. But I also know that even if he does that, eventually I'm going to die. Lazarus raised from the dead, but eventually he still what? Still died. I mean, a natural death of some kind later. So even those things are temporary victories in view of a bigger victory to come. And we say, Lord, what is your will for us? How do we do that? One more thing, I don't want to go too long, and I told Luz I'll probably split this in half, and I think I will. But I want to talk about this thing of humility. Because he talks about this whole thing of not thinking above ourselves. And he talks about the sincerity of love and looking at others, honoring each other above ourselves. Humility is a cornerstone of God's character. Think about it. God is the creator of the universe, but there are no billboards. Do rocks have instruments made by God? Is there a sign in multiple languages in humanity saying, made by God? Do mountains have carved on their sides, made by God? God says it's self-evident, right? It's obvious this was designed. You live on a planet that's a certain distance from the sun, with certain elements in place, water, food, everything you need. It's kind of obvious it's been designed for you, and God says that should speak for itself. God has humility. Even in being all powerful and creating everything, he says, but I don't have to brag on it. It's self-evident. And I'm telling you, I left a book with that information. You have been made. There's the verse that says, it is he that made us, and what? Not we ourselves. That's a huge statement. And think about that. What does that say about value? When you talk about the whole thing, the creation debate. These brothers went to the creation museum. What is the difference between just happening to be and being made with love? There's a huge difference in that. However you talk about the time and that, I won't even get into those issues, but just the fact that if someone designed us, lovingly designed us with love in mind and relationships in mind, interactions in mind, and that dynamic and the expectation behind that and what it says about the heart of that being versus it just happened. If it just happened, again, I'm up here for nothing. You're sitting there for nothing. Because there's no rules. It's just whoever's the strongest wins. It's social Darwinism, right? The strongest wins. Whoever's strongest survives. That's what you're talking about. But if it's true that a loving Creator made us in His own image, breathed the breath of life in us, invites us to relationship with Him and with each other, everything else has changed. But in order to see that, it takes humility. It takes understanding that means some deference. Deference to God, and if we're going to get by, deference to each other. That for us to make it, I have to put your interests before mine. Or at least consider your interests, at the very least, while I consider mine. I cannot have my way and the world function like it wants to function. It needs to, right? If everything went my way, we'd be messed up. But God says, don't be conformed to the world that says, do it my way, and be transformed by things. Say, Lord, have it your way, and let me serve others. So He says, consider your gifts, honor each other, one another, above yourselves. Amen. And that's hard. So people say things like, I go to elementary schools and they say, now, say to kids, yes ma'am, yes sir. Why? I say, because you're valuable. Does it hurt me to tell a 5-year-old yes sir or yes ma'am? What's the big deal, right? But I'm communicating to them. Respect, I value you. But I'm saying you should value what? Others as well. You know, we teach our children things like that. You know, don't say yup and huh and yeah, but you know, yes. You know, put some sugar on that. Right? Put some gravy on that. You know, but the sugar is sweeten it, the gravy is respect, right? Don't say yes, say yes, Daddy. You know, you can say Daddy, but don't be yupping me. You know, I said, man, you're old. Yeah, I am. I'm a little bit old. You know, date myself, and I'm Southern. I'm categorizing myself with it too. I think we got that one right. Sorry. A little sugar, a little gravy. You know, and that's part of this whole external of esteeming someone better than myself. Philippians 2 goes to depth in talking about that Jesus had that attitude. It says, have the same attitude in you that is in Christ, who esteemed us better than himself and poured himself out to the point of obedience, to the point of death on a cross. Tad talked about that. The word excruciating comes from excrucia, Latin from out of the cross, saying it is an amazingly intense kind of pain. It says, but Jesus was so humble, he was so willing to serve, he said, he picked the hardest way he could possibly die for us. And then he says, you do likewise. Like, man, that's a high standard, isn't it? That we pour ourselves out. That we give ourselves up for the benefit of each other. So we do that at the church. We do that in light of the bigger community as well. So we'll stop there for that because there's a lot more to say and I don't want to shortchange it. And the great thing about, you know, having our own church, we can take our own time. You know, so that's for the staff here to really get through, but I can take my time here. But I want you to kind of simmer on those words. Simmer on this passage. Read it again on your own. Just spend some time in Romans 12. Read that over and over again. And we'll unpack the last few verses of that because it gets into some heavy-duty things about the service and what that means. But this having a transformed mind and allowing God to let us walk with humility. Critical in our walk with each other, critical in our kind of the mission God's given us to do. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, there's so much in understanding your will, but our being calibrated in our thoughts, being calibrated in our life direction is critical in our being able to even understand what your will is. Lord, you're not a genie. You're not our own personal bellhop. You're not here to do our bidding, Lord. But you do love us. We can't cry out to you. We can tell you our needs. We can tell you our struggles. You're a Father, a Heavenly Father, Lord. You have the perspective of eternity that puts our suffering and our difficulties into perspective. Help us, Lord, as we seek your will to understand it, to know it, but to prepare ourselves, Lord, to walk in it. We're thankful for your word. We're thankful for your goodness. Help us, Lord, to be conformed to your image and transformed by the renewing of our mind. Give you thanks and praise. Give us the strength to carry on in Jesus' name. All God's people said, Amen. Amen.